You're listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. The views and comments expressed in this podcast are not necessarily those of the AMAA or our sponsors. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. Presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. Check them out at adaptivemartialarts.org. Breaking barriers, one move at a time.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Label. I'm JD.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
And tonight, Charlie, we have Johnny and Misty with us.
Hello.
Johnny,
Hi.
Johnny is actually the executive director for the AMAA, and Misty was our very first customer of the AMAA, so to speak, way back, quite a few years ago. And together, they are husband and wife, and they have a daughter with Down syndrome. So we talked a lot about CP on past episodes, and we're going to delve into some other disabilities and talk about that a little bit tonight. But you had a request that you needed to speak to the executive director about. You were complaining to me before the show started, so I told you, talk to the guy in charge.
You got to refresh my memory on.
Well, yeah, I hear it every week. How come you get the comfy chair and I get this piece of junk? That's what I...
that.
Talk to this guy, see if
I've already gotten over it. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Look what they're sitting in, though. What do you got there? You got a...
We're outside because we have 4 kids, so there's no way the house will be quiet enough for this. There's no way.
Okay.
So we're sitting on patio furniture that's been severely sun bleached and rained on.
Okay. And you're in Kentucky?
Yes.
Louisville. Whereabouts in Louisville? Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice. All right. Never been there. I would like to go someday.
So you guys are actually not only all that stuff that I introduced you as, but you also own your very own martial arts school.
We do.
Well.
We do. Yep.
So
that's how I became your first customer.
What is it called? Kentuckian
Kentucky Goju Shirei Karate Do.
Karate Do. Okay. All
Yep. Yep. So we actually started as the road to here, I think is a pretty good story. We had gotten into martial arts many moons ago, and when our daughter was born, one of the things that we had thought about was, will she be able to do martial arts? And so as we continued our journey in martial arts, one of the things that my wife says was always on her heart was to start a program for people like our daughter, Lily, folks who are cognitively delayed. And, we were blessed with an incredible opportunity in March of 2018 to step out on that journey ourselves.
When we had tried her in regular karate classes, and she struggled to keep up. That's one of the things that some of the kids with Down syndrome struggle with, is that there's a delay in what you're asking or telling them to the action or the answer that you want from them. They have to process that information. And in some kids, it's like a 10-second delay. So they would call attention stance or something, and it would take her a minute to go, well, oh yeah, that's what,
Had to click.
It had to click, but they would move too fast. So she was never successful because she couldn't, she couldn't keep up with that pace that they were, and most little kid programs are very high paced, to keep them focused, because their focus is, about
their attention
that long.
span doesn't last very long to begin.
And I kept thinking to myself, we already knew the benefits to karate, right and left brain, it's working together, your top half, your bottom half, crossing midline. We knew the benefits would be excellent for her. It was just, she struggled with the regular program. And I thought, if I could create a program that could at the very least get them started and get the basics down, so that when they joined class, they wouldn't struggle so much with keeping up. They'd go, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. And, but when I had that vision, we didn't have our own school yet. So that was kind of put off in the back of my mind. And then when we were thinking about doing our own school, I said, hey, I really want this program. And so that's when I was like, but I'm going to need help with this, because we decided that, it wasn't just going to be for Down syndrome. It would be for anyone who needed that extra care, attention. And I was like, man, once you open that door, it's not just going to be Down syndrome that comes in. And I was like, man, I need some help. Like, what am I up? Because I understand Down syndrome because of Lily, but there's some other things that I don't understand. And so that's when I started getting on the internet and, typing, karate, Down syndrome, all this other stuff. And then I was reading an article, and I can't for the life of me remember what, but adaptive martial arts was mentioned in there, and they were highlighted with a link. And I was like, oh, click. And then that's how it all began. That's nice. How we ended up going, hey, this is something that we would really like to be a part of, because they can help us.
For you guys, you came to us at a time where we were actually finally getting our feet on the ground and things, and you helped us, believe it or not, as much as we helped you. And but I do want to back up just a little bit. So your martial arts experience, for the both of you, what rank are you? Kind of fill us in on that a little bit.
Oh. Okay, well, obviously we're Goju Shrei. I'm a second degree working on my third, and he's
a third degree working on my fourth.
Yeah.
And Goju Shrei, both of us.
Yep. And we have our oldest son is he's second.
Yep.
We're very close to getting his third. Mm-hmm. And then our oldest daughter, she is brown. We're getting ready to test for her black in a couple months. And then our two youngest, one is a orange belt, and then Lily is in our little Eagles program, and she's a little yellow Eagle belt.
So Lily's the youngest?
She is a twin. She looks significantly younger than her twin, height-wise. But she's the same age. But
how old are that?
They are 9.5.
Oh, okay.
So we had twins, one typical developing, and the other had Down syndrome, which, in hindsight, we probably should have bought a lottery ticket.
We should have bought not one lottery ticket, but several, because apparently that's really rare.
The statistical odds of having one with and one without is really high.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
In terms of Down syndrome, my experience with Down syndrome, I went to an early education program to give me some early education, obviously, but it also incorporated physical therapy, and it was all types of disabilities. Yes. And so I had a friend there that was actually older than me, and he was actually in school with my sister, so it was kind of like he took it as his role to take care of me, and you're Terry's little brother, and so he used to help me on the bus and sit with me, and we struck up a pretty good friendship. And to me, I never really noticed anything different. Like, it wasn't different to me. And then as I got older, my sister-in-law was involved in education. She was a paraeducator for a Down syndrome student, and she worked with him from kindergarten right through the 6th grade. And he used to come to our house, and he was very much the same way. And so that's been my exposure to Down syndrome, is kind of very, very happy-go-lucky and kind of like smart in both of their own ways. Like,
mm-hmm.
So that was my exposure. But I hear that there's some different exposures, and and so we want to learn a little bit more about Down syndrome. And so, if you guys can give us,
Sure.
I mean, you're kind of the experts at this point. So if you can give us some,
I don't know
some
about
background.
experts, but
Well, was it something that you knew right away? Is that
no. We did not find out that she had Down syndrome until she was born.
Yep.
I had a typical pregnancy, no problems. I had multiple ultrasounds because I had twins, and she was fine.
Yeah.
She was always just a hair smaller than her twin, but I mean, they were fraternal, not identical, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think I preferred it that way, only because it's I didn't worry, some moms worry a lot when they find a diagnosis like that. And she was healthy. She came out healthy. She left the hospital with me. I know that some aren't as fortunate, but she was raring to go. Like their baby pictures in the hospital, she was smiling with Charlotte. She
Yeah.
literally smiled like the second or third day of her life. Like she was, she was pretty easygoing too as a baby. She wasn't.
I always say that.
Happy.
I always say that when Lily and Charlotte came into this world, they were ready to go home from the hospital before Mom was, because Mom had a C-section.
Yeah.
And they were about a month premature, but they were like, "Yeah, we're ready. Let's go." And I was like, "I need another day." So that's kind of how it was. But to just kind of hit on one of the things about Down syndrome, fundamentally, I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand it who aren't familiar with it.
Listen, I didn't have any. I didn't have any interactions with anyone with Down syndrome before my own child.
I would,
except for a little girl at church, and that was it. And so I didn't. I had the same thoughts that everyone else did. Oh, they're always happy all the time. Yeah. They're really sweet and they're always happy all the time. That's about all I knew.
I think most people don't really recognize that, when we say Down syndrome, there's 3 different possible types of Down syndrome. People don't even realize that. There's your classic trisomy 21, which is the third pairing of the 21st chromosome. And then there is the translocation, which is essentially a DNA shift. And then the last one that they have is the mosaic, which is where someone has some cells that have the duplication of the 21st chromosome, but others do not. And so you end up with some diversity just even within the types of Down syndrome that exists. And then on top of that, you also start to see that even with people that have either your classic trisomy 21 or translocation or even the mosaic, there's all different ways that affects people. Like our daughter, being a twin, a lot of folks who have Down syndrome have possible heart problems. They have issues that just kind of seem to come along sometimes with that 21st chromosome that's been duplicated the third time. Lily was very fortunate. She has had, no known heart issues, no known metabolic issues. We can't always say the same for attitude issues.
Yeah.
She is small, but she is fierce.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, like I said, the dynamics of Down syndrome, let alone how rich the diversity is.
It's a spectrum, just like autism is a spectrum. So is Down syndrome. It's you'll never have 2 exactly the same. Some kids
maybe nonverbal, and other kids might be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean it's like autism. It's a wide spectrum, and and I can assure you that they are not happy all the time. They run the gamut of emotion like everyone else.
Oh, yes. So that's mine. Give it back. Stuff like that. Sister.
What I mean, as you said that you didn't know, everything was a perfect pregnancy, and I mean, I think back on my own struggles, and I guess growing up, and it really wasn't until a few years ago when I started doing more motivational speeches and doing podcast interviews like this that I realized, like to me, my parents, that was just, it was sort of what they did. And then I was like, one day I was doing a podcast, and it was like, wow, like, do you realize that your parents never had any experience with disabilities at all, or anything like that? Like, I always just assumed that they knew what they were doing because they did so well at it. Um, I mean, how was that for you guys? I mean, I
Um,
have to imagine that my parents were pretty scared at first. It's like, what are we gonna do? And they made a decision that I was gonna go home and be normal.
yeah,
You know.
We
it's
had decided that pretty early on.
yeah, you just I decided at the hospital because they can scare the fool out of you at the hospital, and which really is very difficult, and I have my own thoughts about that. Doctors and nurses, they give you the diagnosis, and then they give you everything that can possibly go wrong, right? Heart issues, you're going to need to bring her to a geneticist, and we're going to have to look at, thyroid issues and everything. And they just make this long list. And really, what she really needed was a mom and a dad. She was a newborn. She was hungry. She needed a diaper change, right? There's like, she's still a baby, and I finally had to just say, you know what? I'm not going to worry about a month from now. I'm not going to worry about her high school years or if anyone's going to ask her to a dance. Yep. I've got a baby, and she needs her mom to feed her, change her diaper, rock her, and treat, And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go home and I'm going to take care of this right now. And then, and it's like, that was like, and then I was like, we'll slowly wade into those waters and get what she needs. Therapy is what she needs. But I was like, this is ridiculous. She's a newborn, she's like any other newborn. She just, she needs someone to love her right now, just like everyone else, and not worry, I never worried about my other kids and if anyone was ever going to ask them to a high school dance, or if they were going to have friends, or if, when they were newborns. That's ridiculous. And they scare you enough, and you can get scared enough that you start thinking that way. And it's ridiculous because I didn't think that way with my other kids. My other two, when they were born, I didn't worry about all that. And it's like, well, why would I worry about that with her? She's just a newborn, and yeah. I think we just decided that we were going to take one day at a time. And you sit and you do a little research. And I think he took on that burden of research and getting stuff set up for early therapy and stuff, because I was still mom to newborn twins. Like, there was no way I could do all that. I was.
Here's a bottle. Here's a bottle.
It was crazy. It was wild. No sleeping. So he took that burden on right away, and did those things and got her squared away with finding. I think we started therapy with her about 2 months.
Yeah.
At 2 months old. And I would say this to parents: start the therapy early, because I think
early intervention's the key.
Yeah, it really is. And it helps them become it becomes a daily thing, but the therapists become someone that know a lot about it, so they can help you get through every single day and understanding what you're dealing with. They were almost like therapy for me.
Yeah. Every kid with Down syndrome starts walking at a different time. Some are early walkers, some are late walkers. And yeah. Lily ended up starting walking just at the far end of normal, typical developing kids. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that she had 3 other siblings, and she was like, I'm not going to get left behind.
Yeah.
And she's kind of lived her whole life like that, which is, I'm not going to be left behind. I'm going to run this place.
Yeah, she
And
does. She does.
and that's kind of how she came into the world. You know, it was she doesn't know anything.
She walks around like she owns the place.
Yeah.
She is not scared, no fear. You know, she lives with a level of confidence that like I lack. You know, she just go, I got this, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I learned early on that if you're not careful, you can limit them even when you don't think you are.
With your own fears.
With your own fears. And knowing too much can be a disaster because people scare you with all this information and you end up feeling that your kid can't do these things because someone wrote it on paper or someone told you. And so they were like, well, she's, took her to the pediatrician. Well, twins roll, her sister's rolling over, but Lily won't be able to do that for several months. And I'm like, oh, okay, right. I'll go home. And so we're going to practice tummy time and see if I can get her to roll over. And later on the blanket, and 2 hours later, she rolled over on her own. And I burst out in tears because I thought, she doesn't know she has Down syndrome. She doesn't know she wasn't supposed to roll over yet, right? Like she, and I was like, I limited her by going, okay, this is what this chart says, that you won't reach these milestones yet. So I'm not going to, and I thought, my goodness, I'm the one who put a cap on her, not her. She has no idea she has Down syndrome. Not right now. She thinks she's like everybody else, and if everybody else is doing it, why can't I? Yeah. And I think sometimes you can have too much information, and it makes you put caps on your own kids because someone said so. Someone said, well, they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And they don't limit themselves. So why would we?
We had a student recently in our Eagles program whose therapist said that she probably wouldn't be jumping for maybe years.
A couple years. Her mom says, because we work on that in our program. And she said, well, her therapist said she probably won't be jumping for several years. I was like, okay, well, we're still going to work on it. And literally, she did one class. We did one class and she jumped at the end. And I was like, we're the ones limiting them. We're the ones who say these things. They just have to have a good reason to do it.
We just say, come try it with us.
Come try it and see. We'll work with it. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't,
you'll get there eventually.
So with Lily, have you noticed? I mean, what are some of the greatest, I guess, strides that she's made in doing karate, and maybe before and not doing it? What have you noticed at?
I would say definitely like balance and coordination. Okay. We work heavy on balance because, you can't ask someone to throw a kick if they can't stand on one leg, right? Yeah. So we work on balance, jumping. We are constantly working on things that cross midline.
Getting both the hemispheres of the brain to fire.
Yeah, back and forth, I would say that her balance, because she can stand in the kitchen and throw a side kick like nobody's business. So she's, I would say that her gross motor skills have come a long way. And I think when for all of us who do martial arts, there's a sense of confidence that is built for every one of us. And I think it does the same thing for her. There's a level of confidence that she is successful at something. And I think that's super important because it's something everyone can do together. And makes her feel like she's a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely for you guys, it's a definite family affair. And I just before we go to break here real quick, I do want to touch on this because I know for me, my siblings, played a very important role in my development. And as you said, I didn't know I had CP until I was 8 and turned away from a martial arts school. To me, up until that point, I mean, I just did things differently, and there wasn't much I didn't do. And that was because, like you said, I mean, my older brothers and my sister were doing it, and I wasn't gonna be left behind. And you think about it, and what was that like? Your other children. I know that it's weird because through this podcast and through the organization, I've learned more about my early years with my brother and my sister and my family than I did before, just because I never asked the questions. And my brother, one of his comments was, you know, it was the scariest time in their life for them because I was being rushed to a hospital. They didn't know if I was going to make it. I mean, they were in their teens at the time. And so what was that like for the rest of your family?
I will say that I think our kids have done very well with Lily's diagnosis. My oldest daughter has taken it upon herself to become second mommy, and she has a desire to work with to teach school and teach special needs. She definitely wants. She helps me with the Eagles program. This summer we did at a summer program with Down syndrome of Louisville, and we taught a karate class, and I didn't even have to ask her. She was like, I'm going with you. I was like, well, of course you are. She is right there. I think it has given her something that a lot of even people who work with special needs, if they don't have a sibling, they're missing something. Like, it really opens up their hearts to understanding. And my daughter Molly will sit on the floor with nonverbal kids and get them to hit the hand pads. And she's not the least bit scared. There's some kids that are like, well, these kids are different, and they're standoffish. Yeah. Molly is not. Molly will go over, sit down, and have a conversation, and with maybe a kid who's autistic and talks with a iPad, right? She's fine with that. She'll have conversations and engage them, and she's phenomenal. Like, this is, I mean, it's fantastic to watch her. My heart just grows all the time.
How old is Molly?
Molly will be 12 in October.
Your oldest is 14?
Yes, my oldest. Yeah, my son is 14. Okay.
Remember that time when he talked about maybe wanting to go to a different school to make sure she wouldn't be picked on? They're very protective of her. He kind of threatened one of the kids at school made a harsh comment about his sister. And the next day he went up there, threatened the kid. That put a stop to it. And he has told me that he wants to be a doctor, and hoping one day that he can work on things that help people like Lily. And they see a need, and they're both very different. He's very quiet, and in his own way, he's very watchful over Lily. Very different than Molly. Charlotte is, well, they're twins. I'm a twin. So it's a love-hate relationship. 1 minute they're playing Barbies together, and next minute they're fighting over the same Barbie. So, I mean, honestly, it's like a typical sister relationship, It's not, my sister and I used to get out and all out pulling each other's hair and stuff. So it just reminds me of how we got along. We're best friends now. So, I mean.
Now, were you a fraternal twin or identical?
Fraternal also. Okay. Yeah. Apparently it's
1 in 17 chance.
1 in 17 chance.
Wow.
I didn't know that when I was going for number 3 and got 3 and 4.
And we're done.
We're done. 4's good, but recession, so buy one get one.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
Charlotte, in her own way, is very protective of Lily. They all take a role in taking care of Lily. helping her with breakfast in the morning, just helping us bathe her, whatever it is, they all help. They're all right there helping with their sister. And they've all I think that they're very blessed to have those kinds of experiences, because they see value in every life, in every person. And they are some of the kindest kids I know. And it's because of Lily. And sometimes I think that that's one of her purposes in life, is to
inspire others,
but to help people bring that realization that everyone's special.
Yep.
And everyone can bring something to the table, even if it looks a little different than what you can do. It's special.
Nice. Nicely put. Hey, you're listening to Beyond the Label. It's a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities, and it's presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. AdaptiveMartialArts.org, breaking barriers one move at a time. We're going to step aside just for a moment here, and we'll be right back here with Johnny and Misty.
Beyond the Label, presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community.
It's no secret, every martial artist, no matter their age, dreams of becoming a legend. Having their name listed among the greats like Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and Jackie Chan. You can hide it or deny it, but you know it's true. Being a legend takes raw talent, dedication, big breaks, and an ability to survive a roller coaster called fame. But it also takes one more thing to go with it: the best gear and equipment in the world. From the company that is martial arts, Century Martial Arts. They aren't just another martial arts supplier that's never set foot on a mat. They are martial artists, and that means they know their products and use what they sell. From uniforms and training gear to weapons and equipment, Century has it all for every martial arts style. Although you may never be listed among the greats, you can still shop like one at CenturyMartialArts.com and unleash your legend within. Century Martial Arts, the world leader in martial arts since 1976.
You're listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities. Presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association. Check them out at AdaptiveMartialArts.org.
Welcome back to Beyond the Label. I'm JD.
I'm Charlie Murphy.
And we are joined by Johnny and Misty Bakane. And Johnny is the executive director of the Adaptive Martial Arts Association. And we're glad to have you guys here with us tonight. You're talking about Down syndrome. And Misty was actually our first client of the Adaptive Martial Arts Association back several years ago. Thanks for being here with us tonight, guys. We really appreciate it, and we're learning so much about Down syndrome. It's great.
Awesome. Hey, do I get a prize for being the first? Where's my balloons and confetti?
You'll have to talk to the executive director about that. I don't know.
We got a maple syrup.
We're working on some maple syrup.
Good stuff.
Gotta have that.
Yeah. So we have a list of things first, Misty. It's Charlie's chair, maple syrup, and then you in the Hall of Fame.
All right, that'll work.
All right. So you're coming to us live from your backyard in Kentucky.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Do you have bluegrass? I can't see behind you on there.
We do have some. We have a mix of a couple grasses out there, but yes, there's a little out there.
Okay. All right.
Some of it's crabgrass.
Some of it's crabgrass.
Hey, it's green. We'll take that
it's
up
green,
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before the break, we were talking about Down syndrome, and you guys were talking about your experience with it. Your twin daughter Lily has Down syndrome. And we were actually just getting into things before the break. I'm very interested in Down syndrome. As I said, a little bit of experience with it. what they say, just enough to be dangerous kind of thing. My sister-in-law had some experience with it as a paraeducator, so that is why I'm so interested to learn more. And I think one of the things that I want to learn about Down syndrome was another similarity to my growing up with a disability. I mean, I wasn't excused from chores. I wasn't treated any different. The corner liked me as much as it did my brothers and sisters, and I frequented it quite a bit. So,
Oh yes.
when you're talking about somebody with Down syndrome and raising somebody with Down syndrome, what are some of the similarities and some of the differences, and how do you treat Lily based on where she's at and what her needs are?
Well, I try to tell you, don't be scared of newborns. They're pretty much all the same.
Yeah.
Eat, poop, pee, cry. I mean, that's
kind of in that order.
That's yeah, really. It's that's pretty typical. I wouldn't. There wasn't a whole lot of difference for a while. Growing up, she was only for a while there. She was only a couple months behind Charlotte in just about everything. Just following Charlotte right along in her milestones. The gap started to widen a little more around about 2 years old. It widened a little, and it just progressively got wider. And it's not that Lily's not reaching the milestones; she just reaches them. It just takes a lot later.
Yeah.
And some milestones we're still working on. But as far as she runs the gamut of emotions, like all kids. She is happy. She's fun. She loves to be funny. She loves to pick on her brother. She loves to go in the room and steal his Nerf guns. She gets into her sister's makeup and, plays dress up in Charlotte's clothes, steals toys from her sister, just like, I want that. She has visited the timeout chair multiple times. It's just she has her own things that are required from her on her level as far as chores and stuff. So she has to help clean the room, get dressed in the morning for school, those kind of things. It's just she has her things. It's just whatever she's capable of doing. So, throw your stuff in, clean your spot off at the dinner table, those kind of things. She's capable of doing. She helps sometimes with whatever we're like cooking or whatever, that's typical for 9-year-olds. Can I help you cook? Sure.
Can I help? That's
can
what
I
she'll walk
help?
up and say. Yeah.
Can I help? And so you just, in her own way, she's able to do those. So she goes to school like everyone else. She has backpack, and
she has the same. Honestly, she has the same fears that other kids would have. About 2 years ago, right around Thanksgiving time, her school had a little program that they did in the morning ahead of Thanksgiving.
They're all little pilgrims.
And they were all dressed as little pilgrims. And she goes to a Christian school, so she was supposed to hold the Bible. And she turned around to the lady who is her teacher, and she said, "I'm scared.
I'm scared."
And then
and they were saying, "Why are you scared?" And she says, "They laugh at me." She was afraid they would laugh at her. And she's like, "Oh, they're not going to laugh at you, Lily. We had to." But that was, you feel bad for your kid, but super important in those milestones because one, she expressed herself appropriately, right? And she understood what was going on, and it's one of those things where you're like, yes, that solidifies that she's got the same fears, the same feelings as everyone else.
Yep.
And
acceptance,
I think, yes,
things like that among peers. I mean,
yeah.
She may be oblivious to the fact that she has Down syndrome, but she's not oblivious.
Yeah, she has no idea she has Down syndrome. She just, if you could ever watch her walk through the hallways of the school, she's Miss Sassy Pants. She acts like she's got a strut. She walks like she owns the place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier there's different spectrum you referred to it as, I think. For where does she fall in that?
It depends on what you're looking at. So gross motor wise, she's probably above average. She's health wise, she's above average. She doesn't have any health issues. I would say that speech, she's a
little behind.
She's a little behind. She has a good vocabulary. She doesn't talk as much as she needs to. She's increasing that though. We're really happy. She's at the point where we can have a conversation with her now. And that's really important.
She'll walk up, and if she doesn't like something, she'll say, "Oh, that's disgusting," and so big words, 3 and 4 syllable words.
It's hard to say because there are some kids who gross motor wise are behind, but they can spell, they can read, they can do math, right? And gross motor wise, physical wise, Lily she was
very athletic.
Very athletic. Doesn't like math. Doesn't like to,
Who does?
Doesn't like to do her homework, right?
Typical child stuff,
But she probably
falls by the middle.
Probably about the middle in most things. But I would say health wise, she's probably above average because she doesn't have any
no heart problems, no other
allergies,
congenital issues.
Yeah,
she's not on any maintenance meds in terms of
thyroid or anything like that,
or heart or anything else.
Yeah,
What and how much do you attribute that good health and the milestones that she has reached and the kind of being ahead of the pack, so to speak, it sounds like in most ways, to her martial arts training?
I would say that we talked earlier about the importance of early intervention. And I think that's where it begins.
That's key.
Because if any parent with any child who has anything of any kind going on, it's super important to be we talk about martial arts, full contact martial arts. You got to be a full contact parent with everyone from the schools to the healthcare to your therapists and services all in between. And I think for us, it was getting her in those early intervention services to start building and laying the foundation to do bigger things has helped her get where she is.
And I will say that, our plug for martial arts here, I think is fantastic activity because there's so many things that we do what the beginning of our classes look a lot like PT. They're balancing, they're learning to jump, they walk on the lava rocks. It looks a lot like PT and OT, so they get that extra in there. And then when we do our basics, punches, blocks, we constantly are calling it out. And then they start to call it out themselves.
Yeah.
So then you have speech, they're putting movement and speech together.
Yep.
And then you've got where they're moving right and left together. Yep. The other day we were doing they were high blocking and punching. And then we added steps with that. You got step and high block, step and punch, step and high block. So now we're doing right, left, top, bottom, and that's coordination, and that's a lot of steps.
Yeah, and then multi-step planning will actually line up on one end of the dojo and have little colored circles out on the other side of the room, and we'll say, okay, run to the red circle and show me a high block or show me a stance.
And so that's following direction, 2 or 3 step directions, whatever we ask them to do. So it's constantly, we're reinforcing whatever therapy does, but also in a super fun way for them, because most of the kids who come to us want to do karate. And so I think it really helps. And obviously, when you add that extra, like what they want to do. When you find what they want to do,
Yes.
and then you add this stuff in, then they work hard to get there. You know what I mean? Like she didn't jump for her PT, one of our Eagles, she wouldn't jump for her PT, but you ask her to do it in karate and bam, there it is, And so I think that karate, when you find something that clicks with them and their desire, what they're really after, it helps them find the motivation to do the things you're asking. And then from there, it just progresses and it goes on. And it really, we all know martial arts is great for focus and attention. And it's those same principles that help you and I and other kids help them too.
Yeah. I'd say just really quickly that everyone always thinks, oh, it's just kicking and punching, and you're teaching people with Down syndrome how to be violent. And that's absolutely not the case. We are focusing on things like the balance, coordination, gross motor planning, movement, left over right coordination, all that stuff. And that's really the bend, I think, that is so helpful.
Yeah.
Because it gets all parts of their brain moving and builds more of those neural pathways to help basically turbocharge what they have to the best.
And that moves right into the classroom, and home, and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those places.
Yeah.
That's what you described, Misty, is exactly what I found in dealing with my CP. From the therapeutic aspect to the making the connections, and I started in martial arts, when I was 22, and
Mm-hmm.
so I mean I'm seeing the same things you're talking about, and like you say, we're not trying to tell you to replace your physical therapy with it.
No.
What we're saying is it's a nice way to mask the physical therapy, because I was like, well, I want to be a better martial artist. I guess I better
better do these exercises.
Right. And that's what it was for me, And Johnny, to your point, what would you say to those folks that say, well, you're dealing with somebody with Down syndrome who may or may not understand the techniques that you're trying to teach them, and the fact that those techniques could possibly be dangerous, etc. You've heard the story before. Now I need you to kind of give a little bit of perspective to that.
Yeah, I think really the context aspect is huge. Like Lily, for example, when she wants to spar, and we do let her spar with us, she puts on full gear, a helmet, gloves, and her context for that is that honestly, it's sport. It is sport martial arts. And so she makes the
on that note, we also make whoever wants to spar with her have to put full gear on, because the connection there is I can't kick and I can't punch unless I'm in gear and they're in gear. And so it brings it just to the dojo, right? Yep. This only happens here because like as you're saying, a lot of parents are like, I'm afraid it will make my child violent. And I tell people, I'm like, well, my Lily knew how to hit before she was in karate. So that's not, I didn't teach her. I was like, but if she's going to learn, might as well learn how to do it right. But she's, I think it helps because it gives them a place, an outlet to do that. Right. I want to punch. I want to kick. Okay. Well, this is the safe place to do that in.
This is appropriate.
And then you start to learn, because as martial artists, we know we don't walk around and hit people. And that's constantly something we talk about. We don't start to fight. Right. And I think that resonates with, resonates with people, because we teach this is the place to do that in. This is the only place you do that in. And I've never had her full on, fight somebody outside the dojo. So.
No, and we don't. When we teach the techniques, it's always in that controlled setting. Mm-hmm. And so we've created rules and expectations, norms, and consistency of habit and practice around how this takes place. So they don't know anything different and have no other outside expectations other than we do punches and we do kicks on bags, on hand pads, and in gear, and we focus 90% of the time really on the pieces that we're talking around, the balance, coordination, basics, stances, punches, blocks, things like that in a static environment in front of mirrors.
And that movement together,
yes.
Making the body move together how you want it to. And that takes time. And, it's just making those connections in the brain is what we're really working on. And it's, I understand where parents come from. I really do. And I've had some are just like, well, I'd love to get my kid, but I'm afraid they'll be more, they'll be violent and I understand because there are some kids who tend to, very physical without karate.
Yeah.
But I would say that, I tell them we look a lot like PT at the beginning, and it's static, and they work with us, so they're not hitting each other. And we always make sure that,
there's no free spar.
There's no free spar.
and Charlie, I've been doing this a while now, and we had a local program here as well. And we've actually had some students come in with behavioral issues, and martial arts actually ends up extinguishing those behavioral issues, because what they're finding is that this is a healthy way to express myself, and this is the way we express ourselves, and this is we only do it in here. So as Johnny said, it's all about, as with anything in life, the expectation and the consequences behind it. I mean, if it's being misused, this student knew if it was being misused, he was sitting out, like you're going to sit out around, there were consequences. And I really think that is where, it's all in how it's handled, I think.
Yeah.
And in our school, Jason, we have our Eagles program, but when we talk about, other students with, other things that are going on, we have students have had students with autism, ADHD, ADD, epilepsy, folks with dysgraphia, Tourette's, people with neuropathy, adults with neuropathy, in their feet and their extremities, blindness. So I think for us, we really push the aspect of bringing those health benefits, both the personal feeling of success and feeling like you can accomplish things, right? Everyone loves to be empowered. I've never met a human being who says, "Oh, me, disempower me first." You don't hear that in life. And I think that, when we're used to that type of environment as school owners, that it makes us very easy to say, well, how do we run this for folks who have these considerations or those considerations or different considerations, and really drive everyone to be able to achieve their personal best.
So how long was the school operating before you incorporated that? Or was it right from the beginning?
A few hours. It was like the first Saturday after we opened.
Right. We knew before we even opened the doors, when we were planning our school, that this is what we wanted.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And we had a strong desire that and a philosophy that everybody deserves self-defense. Everybody deserves to learn self-defense, and we knew the strong benefits of it. For our, and she's, let's see, she was how old when she was 4?
So about 6 now.
She was 6.
Well, when we started the school, she was 6.
She was 6. So
4 when she started martial arts.
She started martial arts when she was 4. And I would say that we knew very on that that's what we wanted for her as an activity. It was structured. We set a goal of doing 30 minutes. She has met that goal. She stays there. I think an hour is still too long for her, but she can do a full 30 minutes. And that's priceless as far as physical exercise, because people with Down syndrome tend to struggle. They have low muscle, with weight. They have low muscle tone. So diabetes goes along with, overweight. And so disguising physical activity with super fun stuff is, a great way to get those kids who, aren't going to walk on a treadmill for 30 minutes, but you can hide movement for 30 minutes, with karate, make it fun. And, it's helped her. It's helped her a lot.
Now, what as we talk about Down syndrome, what is adulthood look like for somebody with Down syndrome in teenage years and those type things? I'd never given it much consideration. I had always thought that the life expectancy was the same as for everybody else, and I learned that may or may not be true. Can you guys shed any light on that?
Yes, life expectancy for average is about 60 years of age. They tend to age pretty quickly. By the time they're when they reach about 30, they start to age pretty quickly after that. Most end up with significant health issues or dementia. Alzheimer's is increasing, and there's Down syndrome. Louisville has an adult program, and they have found that they are getting more adults with Alzheimer's because they're living longer. So and so there's a whole thing that they're learning how to deal with in their program because of health. I mean, everyone's health is much better than it used to be.
There's an interesting correlation too, and as you talk about the life expectancy piece, I have to bring this up. As we are making advances with our understanding of the human body and aging and aging as a process, one of the things that has really come to the forefront is like Misty said, people with Down syndrome are living longer. They have a greater life expectancy. With that is coming the Alzheimer's that we're seeing. But there's a lot of research that's going on that's now looking at connections between Down syndrome, Alzheimer's, and even rheumatoid arthritis. And I think what's wonderful about the time that we live in is that we are getting such a better understanding of how this manifests with additional challenges, whether they be endocrine or possibly developmental, as folks with Down syndrome start to move on to their senior years.
And I wish I had kept this article. There was an article that was talking about those people who do martial arts continuously into their older years are in better health. Mentally, they're more fit. And if it helps you and I, it will help them too.
Yes.
As far as what expectancy there is for what their life will be like, it falls on the spectrum with, some live independently, drive cars, have a job. Some are taken care of by their parents or relatives. Some are in group homes. It's a range just like everything else. But they go to school. They have friends at school,
friends that love them, family that loves them, and people that
there are college programs now for them.
Yes.
They can go to college and take classes, and that's amazing. Huge. That's huge. Because it gives them those experiences. And you've got coffee shops popping up now that hire people with Down syndrome and stuff.
There's one in North Carolina, I think it's in Raleigh, that's a coffee shop that's it's a family-run coffee shop that centers really, I think it's around their daughter who has Down syndrome.
But it's fantastic. I mean, you've got I can't think of his name. He has a socks. Yep. He runs a company with socks. He sells socks. I can't think of his name. You've got
social media influencer, actress, actor,
the actors, actresses,
entrepreneurs.
You've got a girl who started dog pet cookies, cookies her business and everything. So
Mixed martial artist too.
Yeah. It's sky's the limit. I mean, because we have better health, better resources, better education for them, it's the sky's the limit now. I mean, we just keep, it just keeps going. So, you can't, I would say for any parent who's starting this journey, you are so much further ahead. The people who paved the way for me, there was a lot of work done, to lead up to this point, and they're still they're still paving the way. So like, don't get lost in what you see now, because in 10 years, it'll be more. It'll be more available.
And like here in the Louisville area, we have Down Syndrome of Louisville, which is nationally recognized for the excellent programs, resources, and support they give to persons with Down syndrome. But like Misty said, it's just growing and expanding. That's one nonprofit here in this area. We were very fortunate that one of the private schools in the area has an entire program known as Providence for people with Down syndrome. And so Lily actually is mainstreamed right alongside her typical peers in a private school setting, which is very different than what you often see in a public school, mainly because I think, resourcing is different, right? In the private school that she finds herself in, she's with her typical peers and then pulled out for her services such as tutoring and speech and things like that. And that's huge, because I grew up in the era where, there was a special needs resource classroom, and you would see the kids, in that room, but you would never see them around campus. You might see them wiping off the tables after lunch.
But you didn't interact with them because they were kind of kept in that room or off to themselves. They were always a group together. And
our daughter got to be a pilgrim and carry the Bible during a Thanksgiving program for her school.
She sits in class and answers questions, and
she got a Bible question right the other day. Got up and did a little twirl and sat back down.
She's excited. She got it right.
She knew it too.
But that's what I'd say. The resources and things that are available, and the way their parents now are paving the way. So, to new parents, 10 years from now, the sky's the limit, because there's parents just continuously working to advance, the resources and the health and everything.
And that's not to say that you won't face some adversity, and I'll be brutally honest. This is my opportunity to talk about this, I guess. When the diagnosis of Down syndrome was shared with us, the doctor who was on duty, the neonatal doc, looked at us, told us that he was shocked, as if we didn't have any prenatal care because we didn't know she had Down syndrome. And then actually said to us that we should have had this thing taken care of. And I throw that out there for folks, because you will hear things like that from some people. It's not all unicorns, blue skies, rainbows, and sunshine. But what I will tell you is, don't let those people influence your decisions as a parent, as a sibling, as a caregiver, or anyone else who's connected with folks that have Down syndrome.
Now, if you really want to know, what you're up against, you talk to another parent.
Yes.
Who's got,
yes.
I really wish that I'd have had parent, and I did have some parents come in who had, when I was home, but in the hospital, there was a nurse there, and her son showed me pictures of her son who had a disability, and she was just talking wonderful things. And I realized, and she was like, Lily's just a baby right now. You've got plenty of time to worry about all this stuff. She just needs you, Mom. And I was like, you know what? You're right. She just needs me, and I can worry. I didn't worry about all that stuff with my other kids when I was holding them, and it's just one day at a time. And I don't get too far lost in the future. It's one day at a time. And I have 4 kids,
We don't have time for that.
People ask me, how did you make her so independent? And I said, she's the boss. She's the last one. I'm like, I got 4 kids. It's every man for yourself man, around my house. So she has to take care of herself, But because they're like, you should write a book on how you made her so independent. I'm like, well,
we might ask her to author that actually.
Yeah. But I was like, she's one of 4, and we have a dog, so it's like, it's kind of like, hey, I can have a glass of milk? Sure, you're 4th in line. Just hold on. And when she got tired of waiting, she
open the fridge and get the milk out and drive us to do it.
Yeah, she'd learn how to do it herself. So
No, I heard the dog barking earlier. I was going to ask, does the dog notice anything? Does the dog treat her any differently? Have you noticed anything like that?
He will, in the mornings, he'll greet her like, hey, good to see you.
She's not an anti-dog, but she's not a fan. She's she'll pet him, and then she's kind of like, I'm done, right?
But I think as she's matured, like the other night, she said she had I think it was a corner of a peanut butter sandwich, and we have an old English Mastiff. Okay, so he's big,
200 pounds,
180, 190 pound dog, right? And she looks at him and she gives him a corner of her sandwich, and she goes, "Here you go, Gus." And then she goes, "I love you, good boy." And
so she's, I think
she's coming around.
Well, and I think there was a disconnect. There was a disconnect there for a long time. Like, I don't know how to connect with this, there was an understanding of how to relate to animals, and but now if she kind of yells at him, he walks off like, okay, not today. Like I said, she kind of she runs the roost. She speaks up for herself.
Oh, yeah. We always say of our 4 kids, she is definitely the one that will not be a victim in life.
Yeah, no, she's, exactly, she doesn't hide anything. She doesn't hide her feelings. She will, you clearly know if she's happy or sad or mad. Yeah.
So one more question for you on Down syndrome, and then Johnny, since you are the executive director of this madness that I created,
it's a fun ride. It really is.
I'd like to get your feedback on that a little bit, and then you've got a little bit of a military background, and I'd like you to speak to that and how our programs at the Adaptive Martial Arts Association would be able to help veterans and folks of that nature. But the question I have for you is, and this is one that that I've asked of my brothers, or gets asked of my brothers and my sister a lot, is like, what's the one thing that you want normal people, whatever that means, to know about your brother, or in your case, your daughter? What is the one thing that you just wish the world would get?
That her life is important. Her life is special. It's meaningful. It has purpose. It may not look like your purpose or someone else's purpose, the normal, she may not be the lawyer or the doctor, but she can have an impact on the people. She has an impact on the people around her.
Yes, she does.
I think there's something that people don't understand about Down syndrome, is that they are inclusive.
Yes,
they are inclusive. They and a lot of them are around other kids with differing special needs, and they don't see that. Lily can walk into a room and sit next to anyone, tattoos, earrings everywhere. I mean, it doesn't bother her. She sees you. And that is what makes them remarkably special, is to them, the outside just doesn't.
They're devoid of any preconceived notions, prejudices, or
they see you. They see you, the real you, the inside you.
That's it.
And they are the definition of inclusive.
Yes.
And to me, I wish people could understand that to me, that's one of the main reasons she's here, is to help others see that and learn that and pass that on.
Oh, nicely said.
Absolutely. As I sit here and I think about my buddy Stevie, and it's like, the conversations we had are just, everybody's like, why are you having a conversation with him? Like, he doesn't even get it. Well, the stuff that he does get, or the stuff that you think he doesn't get, he gets. And we've had conversations about, I'm a big WWF fan from back in the day,
Yeah.
He'll tell you all the guys on the roster, and like he knows it, like, in his brain. And he would, we worked at a radio station, so you used to get the inside reports on the wrestling from the night before, and he knew that I had this inside access. And so every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, he would call to get what's the scoop this week, So it's like you wouldn't think he was even thinking in that realm, but he really knew what was going on, and he really helped me at a time where I had some separation anxiety, and I always looked forward to having him help me on the bus when I was a little one, and he was the protector. So so I would say, just don't sell people short,
Yep.
Look at them for who they are, and what they can bring to the table. And that's half the reason. That's the entire reason, not half the reason. Half the reason is this guy of why I started this organization, and the other half was that I was turned away from a martial arts school when I was 8 over the telephone, told that I'd never be able to train because I was in a wheelchair and I didn't understand, and I don't want somebody to go through that again. And you guys came to us looking for help, and we had some rough goes with the organization, and some rebuilds, and you guys stuck in there with me, and Charlie keeps pushing me, and so for you guys, I'm thankful, and I look forward to what the organization is going to become because of you guys. And Johnny, you've got a little bit of military background that you bring to the table that's helped us move quite a bit forward in a short time. But how do you think that the military and martial arts can mix, for veterans and things like that? And how can we help folks as an organization?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. It really is. So I go back to when I was on active duty, right? I was 22, 23 years old. I was a second lieutenant. Now, I hope nobody holds that against me, but I was a butter bar. But I can remember how there was this camaraderie. We were brothers in arms, and we would get up and we would go and we would, do PT together in the morning. Then we go off and do maintenance, training, whatever it was, field time together. And then on the weekends, we'd all see each other again, this camaraderie that you had. And when I got out of the Army, I went into corporate America, and our son was born, and so for the first 4 years, I was trying not to pull my hair out with getting used to being in the corporate environment, and then having a baby and being a dad and everything. And when he was old enough to start martial arts, I was like, I always believed in the concept of lead from the front. That was something that was really, made an impression on me when I was at Fort Benning. In addition to all the running that I did at Fort Benning, it was this concept of, leaders lead from the front, leaders eat last, leaders demonstrate with personal example. Your character has to be beyond reproach. You walk the walk. You lead from the front. And what I think has been wonderful about the martial arts piece is
Sounds just like that.
Yes, it is.
Sounds
Martial
like
arts is Budo. It is the brotherhood of hand-to-hand combat. And the friends that you make, the people that come into your life, we went out to dinner last Friday with
All our
40 folks from our dojo family. Okay. The parents, their kids.
and that's what we call them.
Yeah.
Our dojo family.
And
I think that's the same closeness that you can get, because you are close to the people. It's funny. There's a meme that's got a guy like this, and he says, "Friends, you mean sparring partners?"
Yeah.
And
but,
that's really what it is. People are like, "Your friends?" Yeah, the people I hit on Thursday night.
and the military has a strong background in being family inclusive. Hails and farewells, barbecues together, get-togethers. The military families are always spending time with other military families. And so you put that together with, now I just do my PT in the evening and I work in the daytime. That's the opposite of when I was on active duty, PT in the morning and work in the rest of the day, but it's still there. The how changes, but the what's never do. The what's being things like friendship, camaraderie, family activities, working out together, getting better at your craft, personal excellence, working on, making sure that you're physically fit, you're fit to fight, as we used to always say. Those types of things, all those elements, I think, really call to a veteran and say, hey, I know you're not doing this in the green suit anymore, but it doesn't mean that you have to hang up those things that were important to you too. You can hang up the uniform. But we used to always say that you could take the man out of the army, but you never take the army out of the man, or the woman for that matter. And the concept there is very much the same with martial arts. And there's that brotherhood, that bond, that camaraderie, that family environment, the esprit de corps that you have. You have the fact that when we would go and we train together, yes, we'd go out and we'd, play out in the woods, good guys, bad guys. We do the same thing in sparring. It doesn't really change at the level of what, just at the level of how.
And honestly, through the adaptive program, it doesn't, when you have the adaptive program, it doesn't really matter how you come in.
Yeah.
You can still train.
Yeah.
I know that some of the veterans, might, have some physical challenges and disabilities, but it doesn't matter, because we can still make it work for you. And we can still make you part of the family.
Yeah, and I totally get it, because when I was 29, I had knee surgery number 4, which was done by West Point, United States Military Academy, and it was a cartilage transplant. That whole recovery process spelled the end to my immediate military career. And, I left the service with a service-connected disability. Well, 29, told I would probably never walk again without the usage of a cane, probably need knee replacement by the time I was 40. Here I am, I'm 45, 3rd degree black belt, own my own martial arts school. I fight with kids. I fight with 20-someths. I get it. And there are some days where I have to adapt and modify what I do. I totally get that. But you can still do it. I've got a gentleman who is a 30-year Coast Guard vet who's blind. He's got neuropathy. And, his kidneys are failing him. But I'll tell you, he is one of the most consistent and dedicated students I have. And when we get into class, I always make sure that when we talk about self-defense, we tap into that knowledge that he has, because as Coast Guard, he was law enforcement. And we love having him share those rich experiences to help create greater context, clarity, and understanding around all the things that we teach. And so to that end, your military skills are extremely valuable and extremely helpful in martial arts. Even if you can't do the things you used to be able to do, you still have the breath within you to keep inspiring others and to share what you know and to set others up for success. And I think that's a wonderful thing that we can do with our organization, is help bring that to veterans, because there are folks who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, injuries we can't see. We have folks that have traumatic brain injuries, people who are amputees, people who have had loss of vision. I've got a very good friend of mine who found an IED the hard way, and he ended up losing vision in one of his eyes, and actually part of his frontal lobe, if I remember correctly. And yet, somebody like him is out there in the community. He's giving back to his community all he can. We can absolutely do the same for others. And so I think that the message that we have as the organization to veterans is, consider expanding your horizons to martial arts. That life that you loved in terms of the camaraderie, the training, the feeling of purpose, the opportunity to lead from the front, to inspire others, all those things are there. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to continue to contribute and to pass along all those wonderful things that you have to share with others to the next generation. And it's not just other adults. It's mentoring, people who are younger than you. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, inspiring people that are much younger than you. My young students think that my one student who has the neuropathy and blindness is an absolute boss. He's a legend because people look at him and go, "Oh my goodness!"
He's still. He still he shows kicking up and he does what he can, and that's dedication.
Yes,
that's
Yes.
I saw something on your Facebook page the other day, and it said, the question was, how long does it take the average person to become a black belt? And the answer is,
the average person
doesn't become a black belt.
Yep. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we appreciate you folks being here with us today, and
for having us on.
Yeah, kind of letting folks know a little bit more about Down syndrome. I kind of knew that it was a chromosome issue, but I didn't really understand that there's levels. And there's different things, and so I gotta say, when Jason was talking about his buddy Stevie, and then he started talking about the WWE or WWF or whatever it was when he was a kid. I saw a movie here not that long ago. It's got Shia LaBeouf in it, and it's called Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah.
And the actor in it has Down syndrome. It was just such a great movie. I really, really enjoyed that movie. So if you folks haven't seen that one, check that one out. So
wonderful.
Jason?
Another education for us, Charlie. That's what this is all about, man.
Yeah. It's been great.
Johnny and Misty, we appreciate you opening up, telling your story to us. And again, I personally appreciate all the time and effort that you have given to me and given to our organization. And I look forward to some great things to come. And thank you for that.
Hey, thank you for having us on.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, we'd like to have you guys on again. We'll let you know. All right. Well, thank you. And folks, you've been listening to Beyond the Label, a raw, real-life look at living with disabilities, presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community, adaptivemartialarts.org, breaking barriers one move at a time. Thanks again to Johnny and Misty Bakane, and for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Label. If you'd like to be a guest on an upcoming episode, email contact@adaptivemartialarts.org. Beyond the Label is produced by JD Production and presented by the Adaptive Martial Arts Association, the nation's leading resource and support network for the adaptive martial arts community. Check them out at adaptivemartialarts.org. Breaking barriers, one move at a time.